Andrew Partridge from Michell Wool joins us. We were on a bit of a Scooby-Doo hunt last week, finding out the mystery of what's going on in the market. I tell you what, it's like Forrest Gump's box of chocolates this week, isn't it, Andrew?
It is, mate. It certainly is. We could use plenty of funny sort of terminologies. The markets are sort of wanting to go in a couple of different directions. We had the fine wool sort of peeling off, 18 and a finer, well, particularly 17.5 and finer, peeled off anywhere from 50 to 100, and then we added 20 microns were up 50 for the week, and particularly in Melbourne, we had a 3-day sale, so we sold sold yesterday, and that's why our market's looking a little bit higher than the rest of the country.
So we had a good movement in the mid-range, but at the top and at the bottom, nowhere near those sorts of gains?
Yeah, particularly right, yeah. And as you know, we're big in the carting sort of side of things, and business is just sort of drying up a little bit. We're covering what we need, but we're not writing enough sort of new sales to actually keep that market up. So we're still buying well. Yeah, I don't think we topped the market this week like we have every other week, but in the carting wools. But as far as Michelle's concerned, yeah, we're just sort of taking a bit of wait and see in this market. It's sort of just drying up, particularly in that carting sort of felt market, I suppose you call it. But the merino, mid-range merinos, yeah, they're in demand.
But are they consistently in demand across the country, or are we seeing different results at the different sailing points?
It's sort of a differing thing day to day, to be honest. It's a bit complex. Today, if you look through deep into the sort of buyers of the market, the Chinese traders are stepping up more so. They're still being hampered by the clogging up, that prune juice we needed for the wool dumps to get the wool through the system and get it sold. So their credit's still tight. But we're seeing other players sort of step up to the plate. There's hand-to-mouth sort of what we call indent operators. So they get the money from the mill, so directly from overseas, and they're buying the wool and they just charge a small commission for it. So those guys are actually more active in the marketplace, and that's where we get the volatility.
Okay, and when it comes to, I guess, not so much volatility, but the volume, we were seeing huge numbers on offer. Did we see a bit of a correction now this week? Because there was a bit of panic in the market last week.
There was, yeah, and we're getting some wool getting withdrawn from market, which is quite interesting. The passing rate was only 8% for the week, so relatively low, but we're seeing wool withdrawn from the market. So I suppose when you net those two figures out, there was actually a fair bit of wool come off the market, and we ended up only with 40-odd thousand bales off it in Australia this week. So, and we're going back up to sort of 50,000 bales next week. So, and then we've got of course, the Easter break. So it's sort of trying to come back, and I think the trend is slowly starting to point down.
Now, you've pointed previously to where the US dollar, Australian dollar exchange rate is. Is that playing a role? Is that a significant factor at the moment with what's happening in the market?
It does sort of mainly on the crossfit market. The crossies are off a little bit this week. They're sort of more tied to the US. But, yeah, to be honest, it's supply and demand, and then the dollar sort of comes into it as well. So you're seeing a lot sort of less mid-range of merinos, and in the fineries, it's probably more the lack of quality in the fine wools. It's actually bringing the indicators down. There is still good money available for good fine wool that measures well, particularly into that European market where they want the style, they want the character.
And I guess you just mentioned the Easter long weekend coming up. Do we tend to see a bit of a splurge of activity in this coming week? Then we sort of have less auctions, I imagine, the following week?
It will be there. There will be a bit tighter market, I reckon, the next week or two. So anyone that needs to fill ships, they'll be sort of a bit more eager. So I'm predicting the next couple of weeks will be okay. At the moment, to be honest, and it's only 3 weeks away, post-Easter looks a bit funny. We don't sort of know what the market's going to do. There's a little bit going on now. We're expecting the dumps to free up a little bit, so they're hopefully going to free up a bit of cash for the exporters to get going. So, yeah, 4 to 6 weeks' time, it'll be an interesting one, but they're a pretty good market, I think, next 2 weeks.
All right, Andrew Partridge, you've been hearing there from Michell Wool. Thanks for that wrap, and we'll just see how it plays out next week.
Cheers.